Okay, good afternoon, parents and students. Let us analyze this actual question which came out in a PSLE examination paper in the year 2017, as you can see here. Okay, the objective of discussing these questions with every one of you is to allow you to gauge the PSLE examination standard. So we can see here, bacterial M can cause illness when it is present in large numbers. So do take note, large numbers. Rahim conducted an experiment to find out how quickly bacterial M can reproduce when it's kept at different temperatures. And this is the result. So I want you to highlight this part, which is the objective of experiment, to find out how quickly bacterial M can reproduce when kept at different temperatures. So this is the objective of the experiment. So the temperature range from 30, 35, 40 to 45. And at the start of the experiment, they start with one bacteria. So everyone has one. And there's some patterns involved. So they say describe. Describe means, I like parents know, describe means write down what you see or write down what you observe. No explanation needed. Okay, because they did not say explain the amount of bacteria changes with temperature. So the word here is describe. So describe means write down what you see. So from the experimental result, you just quote what you see. So to be very specific, actually there's two patterns there, if you notice. As temperature increases from 30 to 35, the amount of bacterial M increases from 120 to 250 units. Next, when the temperature increased from 40 to 45 degrees, now you see the amount of M decreases from 130 to 60 units. So if you did not write these two patterns, right, you may only get half mark because there are two patterns in the experimental result. So do take note of this. Okay, so I'll repeat. For the word describe, you write down what you see. Okay, next, this is application questions. So application questions says that bacterial M can be found on raw food. So you can highlight this on raw food, means food that's not cooked. And the human's body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. Okay, so the instruction is, based on the information given, suggest. Can you see the word suggest? Yeah, suggest means as long as your reason is acceptable, within reasonable limit, you can get the marks. Okay, why bacterial M will reproduce quickly in the human intestine when raw food is eaten? Okay, because you see, if you look at the temperature here, 35, right? The next one is jump to 40. So 35 reaches the maximum amount of 250 units of bacterial M. So 37 is actually quite close to 35 degrees. Okay, so you can write, the human intestine provides a right temperature for bacterial M to multiply. Okay, let me see some of the other students' answer. So one student wrote, low temperature low enough for M to produce. Okay, this one, it won't get a mark. What do you mean by low enough? How low is low? Because too low or too cold, the bacteria cannot multiply. Just like you put your food in sub-zero temperature in the freezer, that's why the bacteria don't multiply and you can preserve your food. Okay, so it must be very specific. Okay, so you just write the human intestine provides the right temperature for bacterial M to multiply. Okay, next, also application questions. Okay, you can also write that 37 degrees Celsius is close to 35 degrees Celsius. Which bacteria M reproduce the fastest? Can, Dora. So possible answer. Okay, next, this one. Again, highlight this part. Okay, now a second experiment is being carried out. Okay, the function is to find out if bacteria M can be killed at high temperatures. Okay, how high? Starting from 80 to 90 to 100. So he said he heated the same amount of bacteria at different temperatures for 15 seconds. 15 seconds is a short time, huh? 15 seconds. And this is the result. Okay, amount of bacteria at the start. So he cooked some raw food to 100 degrees Celsius. The food was left, okay, can you highlight this part? Was left at 30 degrees Celsius for several hours. That's mean after cooking, right? The person placed the food outside in the room temperature of 30 degrees Celsius. Okay. And they ask you, based on the result of Rahim 2 experiments, explain. Now it's explain. Now you must give reason. Explain why the cooked food may no longer be safe to eat. Okay. So I give you some 30 seconds to pause and think while I look at the student possible answer. So one student wrote for part B, temperature is suitable as the amount of bacteria can range from 250 units to less than 130 units. Okay, this one you need to, I want to show you, this is a case study for PSLE marking. Okay, the initial two, I put a cross here, which I don't agree because I put a question mark. You see, this is the answers provided by the publisher. It's not very clear. That's why I put a question mark here. Okay, the part two I accept because the intestine actually provides the ideal temperature for bacteria M to reproduce. Okay, this one I also accept. Okay, you must mention when Rahim heated the food at 100 degrees Celsius for 15 seconds, if you notice the graph, not all the bacteria are being killed. Can you see? At 80, there is this column here. Okay, this part. So at 80 degrees, there are more bacteria still alive, right? And then at 90, lesser, maybe half the amount. And at 100, even lesser, maybe 1/7 of the initial one. So you can see as the temperature increases, right, there is less bacteria that are still alive. But remember, if you see the earlier graph, if you kept at 30 degrees, right, can you see 24 hours later, it will increase to 120 with one bacteria. Because remember, down here is definitely more than one, even at 100 degrees. Okay, they did not say how many, but definitely is more than one. So if you multiply that for several hours, right, the bacteria can increase to an unsafe amount for eating. So you mentioned that at 30 degrees Celsius, this small amount of bacteria, M, could reproduce after several hours, making the food unsafe to eat. Okay, this is the important part. So I want you to take note. So this question is to test the student understanding of two graphs. Okay, of two graphs. The first graph here is a table form. So with one bacteria, okay, let me use a different color. At the start with one bacteria at 30 degrees Celsius, after 24 hours, it's become 120. Okay, if you divide by, because here they didn't say the several is how many. Okay, because they say left it at 30 degrees for several hours. Okay, several can be like 4 hours, can be 6 hours. Okay, let's say 6 hours. 6 hours, 24 divided by 6, right, is 4 times, right? Yeah. So for this question, you must mention that this small amount of bacteria, right, at 80 degrees, 90, and 100, if you left it for several hours, that bacteria can multiply to a great number that is unsafe to eat. Okay. Okay. There's one question here. They say, no, these answers are given by the PSLE setters. You cannot say you accept or not. No, I say the model answer here. Okay, this model answer. Yeah, because this model answer is published by the publisher. Okay, this published by the publisher. So it may not be 100% correct. Because if you read this part, part A, the amount of bacteria M increases differently with different temperature. It's very vague. How different? How differently? How different temperature? Is not specific. So for science question, because a value is given, you must give specific answer. So if you compare my answer here to the publisher answer, isn't this answer more specific? Correct? Thank you. And then for this question, I accept it because this is very clear. Okay, when Rahim heated the food at 100 degrees Celsius for 15 seconds, you must mention there was still a small amount of bacteria M left. Okay, and then this left one, if you put it for several hours, it will multiply, making the food unsafe to eat. Okay, I was able to share this with you because I was a former PSLE marker for 3 consecutive years, representing Pei Hwa Presbyterian Primary School. And this is the Pei Hwa Presbyterian Primary School uniform I'm wearing here. Isn't it nice? I like this part, the collar, this one. Okay, so I like to use this time to highlight to you, this is the standard of PSLE marking. So I believe that maybe you can use this question to discuss with your school teacher, okay? Whether your school teacher would accept 30A Part 1. I would like to find out the answer from you after the holiday, if you have a chance to ask your teacher. Or maybe during, I believe some of you may be going to school next week or the week after next. You can take the opportunity to ask your teacher to discuss this question. Okay, so this question is actually related to diversity in P3 and P4 because we learn about bacterial multiplication. So you can see like these are questions we call the experimental based questions. So experimental based questions can use different topics to integrate together and they test students' observation skills. So this is the one good example in 21/7's paper. So I hope that you can use this and discuss with your teacher. So thank you for listening to my commentary on the questions which came out in the 21/7 PSLE Science.